So we have a Glenna Susan Sharp. Glenna is born March 29th, 1945 in Springfield, Massachusetts. But I won't really cover her upbringing much. Let's just fast forward to when she's a grown woman, she has a family, she's been married. She decides to uproot her family in July 1979 when she's age 34. This time she has 5 children with her husband. She decides that, you know what, moving from Connecticut to California is actually a good idea. But she's leaving her husband behind, James Sharp. But that's okay, they are separating. So he's okay with her taking the children and moving to California. Glenna decides to relocate to Northern California. This is where Glenna's brother, Don, lives. So she thinks, well, he's familiar with the area. I think this would be okay. Upon arriving in California, she rents a small trailer that her brother used to use at Claremont Trailer Village in Quincy, California. So the kids and her are settled in, and fast forward to the following fall of 1980, Glenna relocates again. This time, she decides that it's best to rent a cabin at Keddie Resorts, which is still in California and somewhat near Quincy. It's not too far. Glenna believes this is a good move because the house is much larger than the trailer was, and it just became available, right? So, you know, it still has a somewhat new vibe to it, and it's available, it's ready to move in now. Actually, the sheriff used to live in this property. So it should be okay, should be good. Now let me give you some details regarding Glenna's children. So her oldest is a 15-year-old son named John. The second is 14-year-old daughter, Sheila. Third child, 12-year-old daughter, Tina. And the 2 younger children are 2 boys. Rick, he's 10 years old. Greg is 5 years old. So now all of them live in this cabin at Keddie Resorts. By April 11th, 1981, at around 11:30 a.m., Glenna, Sheila, and Greg, there's going to be a lot of, I'm going to just call them by their first names, so I hope you can kind of, if you forget, that's okay. I can just, tell you what their age is again and so forth. So just let me know. Glenna, Sheila, and Greg drive.
So like, Glenna the 14 or?
Glenna is the mom.
So
Sheila is the 14-year-old daughter,
okay.
The second oldest. Greg is one of the youngest. He's actually the youngest. So he's 5 years old.
Okay.
Doesn't sound like it, but
yeah,
Greg.
Just say the age next to it because it makes more sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So on April 11th, 1981, at around 11:30 a.m., Glenna, the mother, Sheila, and Greg drive from the residence of their friends, the Meeks family, to retrieve Rick. Rick is the 10-year-old. Rick is busy attending baseball tryouts. He's really liking baseball, so that's why they decided to stop at a friend's house and then also go pick up Rick from his baseball tryouts at Gassner Field in Quincy. So you can see, as I told you, they're very close to each other. And as they're driving, they happen to see John, the oldest, the 15-year-old. He's walking with his friend. His friend is Dana Hall Wingate. And his friend's like 2 years older than him at this time, so he's like 17 years old. And the 2 boys are basically hitchhiking, which is not a problem, right? We have a lot of space. Go ahead, right? So they decide, they tell Glenna, John's mom, that they are hitchhiking from Quincy to Keddie. No problem, right? Glenna tells the boys to just get in. I'll just drive you this way. I'll drive you up to Keddie, and then you guys can do whatever you want. And so they agree. They're like, okay, let's do it. We'll probably hitchhike back to Quincy because we have some friends to visit anyway later on. No problem. That same evening, Sheila, which is the second oldest, the 14-year-old daughter, she has plans to spend the night with the Seabolt family, who is basically a family that lives right next door to where they live. So just to kind of set the scene, house number 28 is the house that Glenna and the 5 children have moved in. House number 27 is where the Seabolt family stays. So it's literally right next door, right? So Sheila decides to tell Glenna, her mom, hey, I think I'm gonna hang out at the Seabolt family's home tonight. Yeah, Glenna's like, sure, fine, no problem. Glenna doesn't mind remaining at home with Rick, Greg, the two younger boys, and their friend. Their friend is Justin Smart. And Justin Smart is the child of another neighbor in cabin number 26. And Justin Smart's family is actually relatively new to Keddie as well. He's actually from Montana. He lived with his father, but he moved with his mother and his stepfather to Keddie. His mother's name is Marilyn, and his father's name is Martin Smart. So Sheila departs the house shortly after 8 p.m. to sleep at Seabolt's. Tina is the third oldest, the 12-year-old. So Tina basically has joined her. She goes with her to the Seabolt family's home. And she's been watching TV, enjoying her time there, but she says, you know what time is it? And they say, well, it's 9:30. Did you not want to stay tonight with your sister? I don't know. I don't think I want to stay. And I know it's getting late, so I'll just head back home. So the night's over. Now, the next morning, April 12th, at approximately 8 a.m., Sheila wakes up. She's like, okay, that was a nice time, right? Nice little sleepover. Just moved up here, found some friends, found a good family to hang out with. She decides to return home, which is right next door. When she walks in, she notices this bad smell hit her nose, like it was bad. And she's like, what is that smell? And then she looks in the living room. She sees bodies on the ground. And she looks closely. It's Glenna, John, and Dana in the living room. They're all lying down. It appears that all of them have been bound with medical tape and electrical cords, so they're tied up. She also calls for Tina. I remember Tina she went home last night. Tina, where are you at? Right? She's calling her out. What's going on? Tina doesn't make a noise. Where is Tina? And then she walks through the home a little bit and sees that Rick, Greg, and Justin, they're just there, but they're unharmed. They weren't touched, but they're in the room.
Those are the last ones.
Lastborns and their friend.
And their friend. Okay.
So Sheila's panicking, right? Like I see my mom, my brother, and his friend dead. It appears that they're dead, right? Like it looks like it. I mean, come on. So she rushes back to the Seabolt's house and says, I need you guys to help me. She can't even really talk well, right? I mean, this is shocking. You're not expecting this. So Jamie Seabolt goes over to the house and he briefly enters the home, through the back door to see if anyone's alive. I understand what Sheila told me, but I have to just check, right? I'm an adult here. I need to check. But then he's like, all right, no, it is looking bad in here. So he exits the home, and from the bedroom window, he gets the children out. He's like, okay, I don't want to wander out through this home. I don't know who's in here. This is crazy. Let me just save these kids. Okay, so all of that has just happened. What seems like all in a night, all of that has just happened. So let's get the police involved, obviously. The authorities. The investigation into the murders is initially handled by the Plumas County Sheriff's Office. Plumas County, basically, it's pretty obvious that Keddie Resorts and Quincy seems like they're in Plumas County, right? It's pretty evident. And they, upon their, I would say upon them analyzing and looking at the situation, they realized just how vicious this was, or this event that took place last night was. They find 2 bloody knives and 1 hammer. They find blood splatters all over the walls and throughout the living room. And so they conclude, this seems like this all happened here, like right in this area of the home, nowhere else. Like this just seems like everything's happened here. Glenna is discovered lying on her side near the living room sofa under a yellow blanket. She's nude from the waist down and gagged with a blue bandana and her own underwear, which are secured with tape, so her mouth is shut. They find stab wounds in her chest and a horizontal stab wound in her throat. The throat wound passes through her voice box. The cut is so deep that it slightly reaches her spine. It's almost like they wanted to decapitate her. The authorities also find an imprint matching the butt of a Daisy 880 Powerline pellet rifle on the side of Glenna's head. Now let's pivot over to the condition of the boys. So John, Glenna's oldest child, his throat is slashed. And Dana, his friend, the 17-year-old, has multiple head injuries and has been manually strangled to death. Like it looks like someone has strangled this boy, unfortunately, to death. So they conclude, all right, it's very clear that John and Dana suffered blunt force trauma to their heads, which is most certainly probably caused from this hammer that's over here. But then they do an autopsy and they determine that Glenna and John actually died from the knife wounds and the blunt force trauma, and Dana died from suffocation. So he was choked out to death, unfortunately. So we've analyzed the situation. I hope we can find some leads, right? Let's try to find someone who did this. Who did this heinous crime? Let's find someone. So they start by talking to people around, right? Let's see what information
if
people possibly
had
have.
anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, come on. Like you can do all of this in silence. There has to be something we can find. So they start by speaking with Sheila and the Seabolt family. Now, Sheila and the Seabolt family, they, even though they're next door neighbors, literally next door neighbors, they're like, we didn't hear any kind of commotion. We didn't hear anything. Only thing we recall last night is a green van parked outside of house number 28, Glenna's home. But that was the only thing. It was like at 9 p.m. But I mean, we didn't really think much about it. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, you know, out here. We see those vans all the time. We didn't really think that much about it. You know, and perhaps they could have been, I don't know, enjoying a movie, listening to music. So that could have like distorted some noise, right? Or kind of gotten rid of noise. But then they interview a couple living nearby in house number 16. They claim that actually we heard screaming noises. It actually woke us up at 1:15 a.m.
All the way in house number 16.
House number 16.
And the next door neighbors didn't
hear anything. But they heard the screaming noises. It sounded like someone was being muffled, like they were being prevented from screaming so loud. But we heard it, which is just so weird. But they're like, okay, we'll note that. We'll keep talking to others and see what they say. So then they pivot over to house number 26, Justin's home. Remember? They speak to Martin, the stepfather. And Martin says, well, I didn't really hear anything, but my claw hammer is gone. And my claw hammer is actually missing from the home. That's it. I didn't hear anything else. But Justin, the boy, he opens up to the authorities. He tells them about his experience.
How old was Justin?
We could say he was most certainly between the ages of like 10 and 5.
10 and 5.
Yeah,
okay,
because if he's hanging out with the two youngest boys, he's probably their age, like somewhere around their age, right? But he tells them about his story. He says while he was sleeping with Rick and Greg in the room, he heard like a noise. It was like he heard it coming from the living room, and it was a noise that basically woke him up, right? And it kind of prompted him to walk over to the door and open it a little bit to see what was going on, right? Rick and Greg are sleeping soundly, but I can't sleep with all this noise. So he hears this noise and slightly opens the door. And when he takes a look, he can see Glenna sitting basically on the couch, and 2 other men are standing in front of her. And he remembers like what they look like in a way. He says one of them had dark hair and the other one had like brown hair. And that one that had brown hair, I remember he had like army boots on or something like that. And he continues to watch because he's like curious, what is going on? What is causing this kind of noise? And then he sees John and Dana into the living room. And immediately, John and Dana start arguing with these two men. Like immediately. And then the thing escalated into a fight. So John and Dana, these two teenage boys, are fighting these, it seems like men, right? And of course, I mean, since these are teenage boys, the fight's probably not going to go their way, right? I mean, these are just teenage boys. You know, they may have the heart of a lion, but that's not going to be enough to help, you know? So these men just start beating Dana and John really, really bad. Like very, very bad. To the point that Dana even tries to escape the house. He even tries to sprint out of the house. But one of the guys just grabbed him and hit him with the hammer. And I mean, of course, John is trying to hold his own against this other man, but it's just not working. He's being beaten very bad as well. And Glenna, it gets so bad, you know, Glenna's like, all right, stop. Like, I'm going to try to help. You have to stop this. Like, she tries to break it up, like, but there's only so much she can do. And he continues to watch, right? Justin is watching all of this. He's shocked, right? I mean, he's a little boy. He's frozen at this point, and he can't even believe what he's seeing. I mean, no one has been killed, like, right here, but to see someone be beaten like this, bad, a teenager, is like shocking to a little boy, all right? But then he sees Tina into the home. Unfortunately, one of the men just grab her and take her outside through the backyard or through the back of the property. So he just sees one of those men grab her and take her. And then he recalls the worst thing of all. He sees one of the men grab a knife, and that man shoves that knife into Glenna's chest. He recalls all of this, and he is able to at least provide some descriptions about what these two unknown men looked like.
He didn't make a sound at all.
No. Because, I mean, he's shocked. He can't even believe what he's seeing. All of this, he's shocked.
If they saw him, they would have killed him.
So let's continue. So the sketches are released along with the other information. And the suspects...
Did they really have a sketch? Because he said that he just saw the hair. Could not really...
He's going off of what he believes he saw, right? He's trying to provide as much as he can, right?
So they tried to just sketch based on
whatever he's saying, they're trying their best. So, based on the sketches and the information, the suspects are described as pretty much like in their late 20s and early 30s. One stood probably around 5 feet 11 inches to 6 feet 2 inches, which is like a huge range. But you have this little boy who's trying to give you this description. That one had the dark hair, basically. And the other one is described to be at least 5 feet tall, 6 inches, to 5 feet 10 inches with black hair. Or I should say the first one, had dark blonde hair, and the other one had black hair. So, I mean, right now we don't really have much to go off of. I mean, you have this little boy.
And be like, where's Tina?
Right. Tina was taken. He didn't see her, right?
Yeah.
So all I see are, I mean, after this, he just closed the door, but I mean, he can only imagine what else has happened. I mean, I just saw Glenna. I mean, geez, it's hard to even say, right?
Yeah.
Just saw that happen. I can only imagine what happened to John and Dana, who were actually providing the most resistance. Wow. So some people around this area are thinking, okay, we know we're kind of in a smaller town. Sometimes we draw the wrong crowd, right? So maybe these people are like trying to perform rituals with these people, or maybe they were like motivated by drugs or something. But these two things are basically dismissed after when the Plumas County Sheriff is unable to find any kind of like drugs or anything that's kind of relating to rituals in the property, because most likely they would have done it maybe there, right? And They were hoping they could have left some evidence of some kind. But it's not seeming like that. It's not seeming that that's the case. So Tina's disappearance is initially investigated by the FBI as a possible abduction. Although it is reported on April 29th, 1981, that the FBI has basically backed off the search as the California State Department of Justice was considered as doing an adequate job. So you guys are doing enough, so we'll go ahead and back off. We'll let you guys handle this. So the authorities that are assigned still, the California authorities that are assigned, they basically go back out to the property and they do like a grid pattern search. So it's like, okay, surround the home and then we'll all kind of cover 5 miles around, like 5-mile radius around the house, right? And we'll bring our canines out there so if they smell anything, they notice anything, they can help as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, nothing comes out of it. So there are no leads to where Tina is. No one around the area is like telling them like, oh, we kind of think we saw a girl that looked like this. No, there are no leads. Until 3 years later, April 11th, 1984, a bottle collector discovers the cranium portion of a human skull and part of a jawbone at Camp 18 near Feather Falls in neighboring Butte County, roughly 5 miles from Feather Falls, California. So this person calls in, hey, I think this doesn't look like, I don't know, typical animal bone of some kind, like of a dog, or this is distressing actually. So they're like, okay, let's test this out and see whose bones these are. And a forensic pathologist confirms in June 1984 that these belong to Tina. Shortly after announcing the discovery, the Butte County Sheriff's Office receives an anonymous call that identifies the remains as belonging to Tina. So he basically confirms, yes, that is Tina.
An anonymous call. Why is it anonymous?
It's just an anonymous call. I mean,
As in,
maybe perhaps the guy didn't want to make himself known, perhaps.
Okay.
But even with that anonymous call, still, there's nothing that leads to someone or some suspects that did this, that did the horrendous crime to the family and Tina, right? Eventually, by 2004, house number 28 is demolished.
Ooh, so you're telling me it's a cold case?
And there's no trace to who actually committed this heinous crime. But let's back up for a moment. Martin Smart.
Who's Martin Smart? Oh, the dad.
The dad, well, the stepfather who lived in house number 26. So he died in 2000, right? But almost immediately after his death, his therapist informs the Plumas County Sheriff's Office. He tells them that during some of Martin's counseling sessions, Martin confessed to killing Glenna. And it's because she was the one speaking to his wife to leave him.
Surely.
The therapist then states that unfortunately, Martin never really mentioned the children, but he mentioned Glenna by name. And he informed the therapist that it was very easy to bypass the polygraph test when the authorities actually tested him, for when they're talking to him, because I'm close to the sheriff I was close to the sheriff at the time. Remember? The sheriff lived in house number 28.
The sheriff lived in 28.
Remember, that's what motivated. It was a bigger house, and remember the last person that lived in house number 28 was the sheriff.
Oh,
it
so
recently became available when the sheriff moved out. But he was friends with the sheriff. So he said it was easy for me to bypass the polygraph test because
that's my friend.
I'm friends with the sheriff. So then by 2016, the Sacramento Bee publishes a story about Martin Smart, and it reveals further evidence. It reveals that Martin left Keddie right after the murders. He drove to Reno, Nevada, and then he sent a letter to his wife, Marilyn. ruminating on personal struggles in their marriage, which he concluded in the letter stating, "I've paid the price of your love, and now I've bought it with 4 people's lives."
Why didn't she say or report that letter or send that letter to the police? And the kid, he could have seen the face of it if it's the stepdad.
I know. That's the interesting part about the story.
Because when you said that guy said, "Oh, my hammer is missing,"
Right.
yeah, I was like, okay.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's weird. It's not like someone came into your house to take a hammer and then go and commit a crime.
So what are you thinking? If the stepson didn't recognize the stepfather, what are you thinking then?
Maybe he was too scared. He omitted that part.
You think so?
Yeah, because when you're a child and you're too shocked.
You don't think you would say it was my Alright, you're telling me if you bring the kid that's within the ages of 10 and 5, they won't say the truth?
What if
They won't say the truth.
Yeah, like they are too terrified to mention him.
That it's the stepfather?
Yeah, like
Because they were
thought
like,
that they would.
it's unbelievable. Like, I
Yeah,
can't
they
believe that
would
it's.
maybe do that to him and the mom.
Do you think the stepfather could have hired 2 people?
Not hired. See, there were only 2 men. Not hired 2 people. He had an accomplice. Or maybe he was alone.
There were 2 people.
There were 2 people. I'm just thinking that not hired, it was someone close to him.
Okay.
Yeah, not hired, it was someone close to him. But also the child could have omitted it, as in could have been too scared. Okay, what if
Or
he
maybe
does
he didn't
this?
get a good look. And
Yeah,
and the
he just
stepfather
saw
was
the
disguised
back.
or something.
Yeah, maybe he just saw the back the way he was saying it. Because if that guy was facing like this, of course could have seen someone looking. But he saw the back, which is true. Yeah. And that situation is scary on its own. Like, you could forget some things. Because you're
That's
just...
terrifying to witness as a kid.
Yeah. And I think Tina walked in at that point, right? Yeah, when she left that house.
Yes, she left the Seabolt house.
Yeah, and that's
house
when
number 27.
Yeah.
She happened to walk into her own death, basically.
Yeah. Wow. But why did they take Tina though?
It possibly could have just been at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, you're here, so.
No, could have just left her in the house then.
No, because
Why drag her?
I think it's because they're like, you see us.
Even
and you're
in
old.
the house, they've
No,
seen.
but she's a teenager, like a young teen, like, I don't know, 14.
She was 12.
Or 12. Okay,
Yeah.
so she's entering her teens.
Yeah.
She would be able to easily describe this a lot more. Be way more descriptive.
But why not just kill her in the house and just kill her somewhere else?
I don't know.
That's so saddening.
I think perhaps they knew that, all right, this is obviously a lot of stuff. Like, we've killed a lot, and we're going to have to move shortly. We can't, we just made a ton of
Do
noise.
you think that they planned to kill, or the way you said, things just escalated and they started to argue and all those things happened? And do you think like this
So it's hard to
sleepover
call.
was kind of planned?
So I wouldn't say that.
So that he has a reason to come into their house and say, "Oh, my stepson
No,
is here."
It's hard because upon researching this, there's some mixed information about Glenna and the reasoning behind there could have been tension between her and other people that lived around the area, even between her and Martin.
What was the tension?
Well, I mean, for example, even her speaking to Marilyn, Martin's wife, "Oh, your husband, he's not a good husband. You should leave this man." Because, mind you, I didn't give you this detail, but Glenna's husband, the one that she left, he was abusive. You know, he was not a good guy. So she uprooted. So it's a lot easier for her to see another woman dealing with that and say, "No, you shouldn't, Marilyn. You shouldn't be dealing with this." And then on the flip side, there's information about Martin possibly being an adulterer and even doing things with Glenna. And so Glenna's like convincing him or convincing her he's not a good guy. Like, even more so. He's not a good guy.
Yeah, because I know it.
Yes, like, I've been doing things with this man. You need to leave this man. And so there's just some tension going on in the area about this woman that just moved here. She's stirring some things up. So there's more details, but it's hard to really pin down which one's actually which.
Do you believe the therapist? But
I think the therapist has the most accurate.
Yeah, I believe the therapist because the therapist could not have disclosed this.
Technically,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know
until
how.
the person
Yeah, I
is
mean,
dead.
well, I don't know. I guess the laws were different back then, but
You're not supposed to say anything.
no, but
Criminal activity.
therapists will make it clear, like up front to you. If you tell me something that is like,
Those are different times. I think.
and that's what I
changed.
said. I think things changed because now they will tell you. If you tell me anything that's like incriminating, yes, I will tell the authorities. Like, I'm just putting that out there. So.
But why didn't the wife report the letter? Because it's truly evident. I've sealed it with 4 bodies.
I know.
And it was sent right after that whole incident, and he left immediately.
Yes.
And why didn't she say anything?
I don't know why she wouldn't say
That
something.
itself
I
is
mean,
just so fishy.
because I don't think she really had anything to do with that. But
She didn't.
yeah.
But maybe
But
she
it's
was
like,
scared.
but I feel like maybe
Was
maybe she was scared. Maybe she was conflicted about possibly being harmed by Martin if something
She
were to
told.
leak.
Yeah.
I mean, because like if he can do this, I
Yeah.
mean, Jesus, I can only imagine what he's gonna do to someone who snitched on him. Right? I'm scared for my child.
Yeah.
Like, it would be a lot easier, like, no offense, but it would be a lot easier for my child and I to just move out of here. Not say a word, never let Martin know where we're at, and just pick up and leave. Because I gotta think about my son.
This is so saddening. Now Sheila, the 14-year-old, has been left with 2 kids. 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. Did she go back to the dad? She was still young.
I think
or
they
maybe
would.
the uncle.
I think they would. Yeah, I think maybe the uncle or some kind of family members. But I think that would be worth looking into to see where they moved to and how it kind of went as they grew up. But Sheila is tainted.
Yeah.
Like, her mind is to see your family members in that shape. You're tainted. No kind of.
Even the 10-year-old and the
because they're thinking I was in a house where my brother and my mom was literally killed really bad. Like, not just shot, I don't know. No, they were killed gruesomely. You know those details.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
How did that guy die?
I mean, not much is known, but
So he just got away with it.
He got away with it. He died. He lived his life and died. He didn't die traumatically or anything. It was just.
I wish he did.
Hey, I don't blame you.
That's so sad. That's so sad.
But yes, Keddie Resorts now is closed permanently. They decided to shut the whole thing down because.
Did they demolish it?
I think the whole resort's just, since it's permanently closed, I think they just demolished everything. Because I mean, why keep it up if it has this kind of? Whenever you think of Keddie Resorts, you're not thinking about it has a lake or something. No, you're thinking about you're talking about the place where the murder took. You know, the area where the murder took place. No, I'm not going to Keddie Resorts.
Yeah, that's so sad, unfortunately. It's very sad.
Yes.
But it was a good one. What can I say? Yeah. So, until next time, I guess.
Until next time.
Until next time.